What up is Marcus Dynasty Fun Dads? We have a DeAndre Swift signed jersey. I want to give it away to somebody. We're going to give it away to somebody when we hit 2,000 subscribers. We're going to be doing the 3 biggest winners and losers so far of the free agency period. And we got a couple other news and notes to make here. First of all, we have a Patreon channel. It is in the description box. I just want to go through that very briefly. I have been compiling all my Superflex, my 1QB, and my Dynasty rankings. So that will be on Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon supporter, just please let me know and comment if you have questions about the Patreon channel. Trying to grow that more and more. I think that will eventually, if we get enough people, will probably end up being a Discord or something along those lines. Ends up being a chat that we can talk and do direct questions along those lines. And I can help you with your team as well. If you're in one of the tiers, I can just help. You can send me your team again. And if you're one of the people that are on Patreon now, please send me your updated roster and I will go through your channel, or I will go through your entire roster, and I will tell you advice, things that I would do in your if I was exactly in your shoes, which I think some people will like because they're lost at like, hey, what do I do? I'm confused at, okay, I have these picks, I have these players, this is what I'm thinking, but is that the right moves if I was in your shoes? So we're going to go through the 3 winners first. Of course, the first one is my man, Jerry Judy and Cortland Sutton. They both getting up here, and because the biggest thing is I told people 4 weeks ago, you got to buy Denver's weapons. That included Noah Fant, which unfortunately went the other way, but I said that all the Denver weapons were going to be upgraded by some sort of quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock were not going to be the answers in 2022. We all kind of knew that it was either going to be a free agent quarterback or or a trade or a rookie quarterback. So a Kenny Pickett, a Malik Willis, anything was going to be better than Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. And so we knew that those two were going to be upgraded. So I'm not going to go through that a ton because we've gone through that a ton in the last part of the channel, the last couple weeks. But Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, they have moved up probably a half a decade, so 5, 6, 7 spots in my dynasty rankings because they now have a solid quarterback, and they have him for a while. So they're going to have Russell Wilson. You're going to see a lot of upgrades from Jerry Judy, from Cortland Sutton. They're not going to be into this mess of what they were the last 2 years. And Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy, as long as they stay healthy, Cortland Sutton was still recovering last year. I think he's going to be a big upgrade as well. So he's a buy low candidate still if you can. But at this point, it's going to be hard to buy low on those two. The next one is a little bit trickier. I am actually a fan of Mitchell Trubisky. I think Trubisky is actually a solid quarterback. And if you were to tell me that Mitchell Trubisky was drafted by the Steelers, even knowing his past, where would I have him in the rookie rankings, in the Superflex? I would have him right up there with Malik Willis. I would have him ahead of Matt Corral, ahead of Kenny Pickett. I think Trubisky is still super young. He's going to be in a really good situation. Think about the weapons that he has around him. He has Chase Claypool. He has Deontay Johnson. Who knows if they're going to have a third wide receiver. I think James Washington and Juju will be gone, but they have Pat Freiermuth, and they have Najee Harris, a pass-catching running back out of the backfield. Most of those are low average depth of targets. You're going to be doing that all within the realm of maybe 10 yards of the field. Deontay Johnson's low A-dot, or can be. You have Pat Freiermuth, low A-dot, and you have Najee Harris, a bunch of dump-offs. Claypool is your big threat type of guy. But Mitchell Trubisky is also mobile too, and so he is one of my biggest winners. If you would have told me he goes to, I know that there are a bunch of teams that are wanting a quarterback. So if you told me he went to like Houston or something like that, I would have been really depressed. But look at Chicago. He had some weapons, but he didn't really have the great weapons that Pittsburgh has. And you even look at Big Ben. If Big Ben had an year, but imagine if Big Ben was actually mobile. Big Ben was a statue back there. And I think that the Pittsburgh, if they shore up their offensive line, you're gonna have Mitchell Trubisky running around like his head cut off half the time. They're gonna need to shore up that offensive line, but their defense is good and they're well coached by one of the best coaches in the league, Mike Tomlin, and he's gonna keep them in the games. He's gonna know what Trubisky's limits are and are not. And I think that's a very good situation for Trubisky. The next ones are Godwin and Evans. Tom Brady coming back from a retirement, at least temporarily. We'll see if they end up being big losers if Tom Brady retires. But Kyle Trask was not the answer. I do not like Kyle Trask. I think he's an okay passer. He's a statue when it comes to running. He is not a mobile quarterback at all. So really, I was like, okay, well, I love Chris Godwin and I love Mike Evans' talent, but who's going to end up throwing him the ball? And how many yards are they going to get? Are they going to get 2,700 yards throwing? That's going to really basically limit you to Godwin and Evans, and that's it. And Godwin's. There's two Godwins. No, there's just one Godwin. Godwin is recovering from ACL injury. We'll see how long that he is out for this upcoming 2022 season. But they're both winners, especially Mike Evans. Mike Evans is the biggest winner here as he's later 20s, 28 years old. And you're talking about Mike Evans. He is somebody that continues to get 1,000 yards every single year. This is going to help him to get another 1,000-yard season. And he's going to look like he has about 8 season-ending injuries like he always does. He looks like his leg gives out, and all of a sudden, or his back gives out, and something happens, and then he's back out there like 3 plays later. That's Mike Evans for you. The 3 losers here. Number 1, DK Metcalf. The worst thing that I feel like Drew Lock is doing is throwing deep balls. And DK Metcalf is your big play type of guy. You could add Tyler Lockett into this loss category too. When you go from a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, at least a really, really good quarterback, fantasy-wise even, he was a good quarterback, to a Drew Lock, the situation just gets bad. And maybe they showed Seattle doing Colin Kaepernick potential workout videos. Do I think that that's going to be something that actually happens? No, I don't think. If it does, then that's going to be really, 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 really bad because Colin Kaepernick hasn't played football in forever. And so we've seen players be really, really bad coming back after years of play. And after the quarterback position, that is the worst position that you want to have somebody not play for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it's been. I don't even know how long it's been. So the next person is Michael Pittman Jr. Right now, I feel like Carson Wentz is an okay quarterback, but Carson Wentz loves Michael Pittman Jr. And the problem now is they don't have a quarterback. So where do they go? Jordan Love. That's a decrease. In my opinion, that's a decrease. Jimmy Garoppolo. Probably a little bit of a decrease. Any situation at this point, if they go after a Kenny Pickett, if they go after a Malik Willis, maybe you're having something close to Carson Wentz, but not right away. We've already talked about quarterbacks that are rookies that we talked about like how basically quarterbacks that are in their rookie season, they don't supply wide receivers in fantasy football in their first year. And so that is already a decrease. Where is there left to go? They're not getting Kirk Cousins. He's resigned. Whoop, whoop, skull. And so really you're left with some quarterback that's going to be less productive than Carson Wentz. You may hate, I don't think Carson Wentz is an amazing quarterback, but I think he can produce enough to produce a good wide receiver. And Michael Pittman definitely with decrease. The last one, and this is not a huge decrease, but it is a potential decrease, and it is Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. And you might go, well, they ran under a 4.40. Why is there a decrease? The decrease is one of the best landing spots seems to be maybe even locked up here. And Mike Daniels had, of course, a huge wide opening spot in Miami. And you were like, Miami is probably the number 1 spot that we wanted a running back to go. And we still got Buffalo, we still got Atlanta, we still got a couple other teams, but Miami was the number 1 spot that everyone wanted a running back to go last year, and now this year, and now they got Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds. So now if you have a Breece Hall and a Kenneth Walker, I mean, yeah, they're definitely gonna succeed there and take over the majority of the work, but it just doesn't seem as appealing as a spot. That's kind of part of it, and it doesn't seem like Miami is in that mode of like, no, maybe we don't want to run it, a young Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, which is a disappointment because that was probably my favorite spot for a running back to go. I wanted Breece Hall, I wanted Kenneth Walker, wanted him to go to Miami, and that spot just doesn't seem to be open anymore. We'll see, maybe things will change, but if you're signing 2 running backs right before the NFL draft, that seems very questionable. And they've even said, oh yeah, like we have a kind of a 1-2 tandem here. Okay, well that means Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker off your board. So a slight decrease, very slight. And when we talk about decrease, it's like 1%. But it just means that the best landing spot, that Breece Hall going to Miami, that Kenneth Walker going to Miami dream, probably over. And so just a slight tier. It's not even down by much. It's just there's one more opportunity kind of crossed off. We'll see if other opportunities are crossed. Maybe Hall or Walker goes into a situation that isn't ideal. Maybe they won't go to Jacksonville. Who knows what Jacksonville's doing? But you could even see one of them going to like the Saints or something, and you're like, oh, I don't like the Saints. I mean, I like Kamara. Or you see one of them go, one of them goes to Carolina, and Carolina tries to trade CMC. You could see some. There's always a situation, especially with the top 4 or 5 running backs. So add Isaiah Spiller in there and add a couple other Rashad White or whatever. Add a couple other running backs. There's always a situation, always a team that drafts a running back that you go, really? Why'd you draft him? DeAndre Swift to the Lions was that. DeAndre Swift was that in 2020. I mean, even you could say Travis Etienne was kind of like they got James Robinson. Why'd you do that? Like, he could have went to Miami. He could have went to Atlanta again. He could have went to a lot of different places. Javonte Williams going to Denver when Denver had Melvin Gordon was kind of like as well. There's just teams that, and then there's other situations where it's like Jonathan Taylor goes to Indianapolis and you just take your shirt off and run through the house. You're like, woo! Or CEH going to Kansas City, which seemed amazing, but I guess not so amazing. And you could even see maybe Breece Hall goes to the Kansas City, and that would just be like that would be like okay, what's going to happen there? CH is going to be resorted to third down back, and then you have Breece Hall 1-2, first and second down. Even though Breece Hall can catch, and so can Kenneth Walker, at least showed he can catch in the combine. Who knows? I just want it to be NFL draft time. I'm so excited. All right, this is Marcus Dynasty Dads. Peace out. Take care.